when there's Bigfoot spottings, there's also a lot of UFO spottings. There's a famous story about the Chestnut Ridge. It was a farmer, and he had his 2 kids with him, and they see this red UFO thing land. They pull up to it, and these giant Bigfoot creatures walk out of it. This farmer takes a gun and shoots the thing because he's just terrified. And they claim that they hear the bullet hit it, but it sounds like it was hitting water, and it did nothing to the creature. It just kept walking.
From the dawn of the spoken word, storytelling has been the backbone of human culture, warning of looming dangers and evoking our most personal fears. What you're about to hear are the real-life experiences of everyday people, brave enough to share their terrifying tales. Tales where the horror hits close to home. I'm your host, Danny. Welcome to the Hometown Horrors Podcast. Listen, if you dare. Well, hello there, folks. We are Spooky Show, baby. And today I have somebody that, we got to put a coin in the jar. He did go to high school with me. I don't think we're necessarily friends, though. We just kind of knew each other. But what's poppin', Justin? How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. How about yourself?
I'm good.
First of all, what were you known for in high school?
I don't know. I was kind of the quiet kid that sat in the back of rooms and just kind of slept in his hoodie. What about you, man? Because I feel like you were in the different social circles.
So I was like a little bit of a nerd, but I was like an athletic nerd. So I could run in different circles there. I was in marching band, but I was also in wrestling, and I was like the captain of the wrestling team, you know.
Hanging out with the Ryans.
Yeah, so I started wrestling in college too, but I started acting in student films. So, I started getting into the filmmaking stuff, and I made a couple films, man.
Yeah, a couple of our common friends, they were like, hey, Justin makes spooky movies.
Yeah.
He recently came out with a Bigfoot movie. I was like, I got to talk to this dude. So I watched your movie. I bought it.
Thank you so much, man. I really do appreciate
Absolutely.
that.
Creators got to support creators. So thank you for coming on the show, man. I appreciate you making the time. I know you're very, very busy.
Oh, yeah, man. Thank you for putting this together. And I know making podcasts can be difficult. So I applaud you for doing this. Yeah, man. I really like what you bring into the show is stories around our area, like where we grew up. And I didn't realize there's like so much going on here.
Most of the people that we talk to are people that I've known either from elementary or high school. And even people that I've known for most of my life, it's like, holy crap, they have a lot of stories.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you heard Julie's episode. She's the 5th episode of the show. And she has some terrifying stories, man.
Yeah, I'm going to have to check that out.
Did you ever know Kelly Shepard, John's older brother?
Yeah, that sounds so familiar.
He had the Bunny Man Bridge story when he was at George Mason.
So we actually shot a scene for one of my films. It's called Black Eyed Children Let Me In. It's like a fake documentary, so it's called like a mockumentary style film or found footage. And one of the scenes that we shot, me doing an interview with guys like a Native American, and he's telling stories about the Skinwalker. And we decided to shoot that at Bunny Man Bridge. And we got like halfway through, and then the cops got called on us.
Yeah.
Because, we're out there with cameras and stuff. Too many people go there, so cops get called all the time.
Those darn kids again.
Yeah, man. And we had to like hurry up and rush the scene and get it finished before the cops show up, and we were just booking it out of there.
For anyone listening, don't actually go there. Like, the people in Clifton hate people who love that bridge.
But anyways, man, my latest film, the film I'm most proud of, it's called Bigfoot Path of the Beast, and it's about Bigfoot. So this guy's wife mysteriously disappears. He's convinced that a Bigfoot creature is the reason for her disappearance, and he feels like the only way to prove that is if he kills a Bigfoot and proves that they're real. But there's also this thing going on where is it just all in this guy's head?
And I like that too. You play with who's the real monster at the end of the day. This guy that's bent on revenge, or this potentially like cryptozoological animal that might have stolen away his fiance or wife. What was it? Fiance?
Fiance, yeah.
Because I think she gave up the ring in the early scene. And
yes.
Yeah, that was well done, dude. I really like that. You're introduced to these characters and they're already in a place of turmoil. The dude really wants to make it work out. She's just not connecting for whatever reason. And then they have a little argument in the woods. He turns around, she's gone.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to, what is it, almost a year later?
Yes. So the film is loosely based off the Missing 411 stories, which is a series of stories about people who mysteriously disappear at state parks and national forest. There's a author out there named David Paulides, and these are true stories about mysterious disappearances. So he's had case studies where like a 2-year-old would go missing and then they'd find this 2-year-old like 30 miles away, or like weird scenarios where like they'll find the clothes, but the person's not there, but it looks like the clothes were like folded and just left there.
Yeah.
Like the person just disappeared right out of their clothes. So I thought, hey, what a great premise if Bigfoot's the reason why people mysteriously disappear at these state parks. And then like there's this whole theme. She's suffering with depression. Is this the reason why she kind of like disappeared? Or did like the Bigfoot take her because of that?
Was it like separating off a weaker part of the species to take down, almost like an ethical kill?
Yeah. So I also wanted to tie that into the main character where he feels responsible. This is somebody that was under his protection and he let her down. But like I said, there's also this other side of things where he could be responsible. None of the other characters ever see Bigfoot, but the ending, I wanted to give something like
maybe there is an actual answer as to whether or not it's happening in his head.
Exactly.
And I did enjoy you playing with that at a certain point. There's a private investigator that's following the main character. I believe his name's John. The brother of the fiance that went missing hired this private investigator to follow John around because this dude's going off the rails looking for Bigfoot in the forest. And there's a scene where John had like captured a Bigfoot and like cut its head off as proof. He's trying to make his way back to civilization. The private investigator stumbles upon him in the woods. They have the scene of confusion together. And then the private investigator opens the bag and it's just a skull.
Yes. Sarah's the fiance that goes missing. So it's implied that it's Sarah's skull. So it's funny, the first day that we were shooting like the most intense scenes, I had the most production assistants on hand and it was supposed to be a great first day. It was the worst set I've ever been on ever. Things all fell apart, man. And it almost like to the point where I had to sit there and think, do I continue on with this or do I just stop where we're at?
It was one of those days where it's like, is this even worth doing anymore?
Yeah. So like we were renting land to film on. And I had an actor friend who I worked with in the past, and the guy is like a really nice guy, but he was going through some stuff and he was just having a real hard time playing the character. So all that we were shooting that day was his scenes, and the next day we were supposed to finish, and he basically told me, I can't do this. I'm struggling too much. Top of that, some people got sick. I got my car stuck in the mud. It was like just a miserable
insult
day.
Upon insult.
Yeah. So I lost an actor playing an essential character. So now I have to scramble and figure out what we're going to do. We had a neighbor come and just fill in. And like, it's probably obvious if you watch the movie. We just dumbed down all the scenes and made it a little bit more palatable. Kayla freaking nailed it. And I'm so happy that she was there to pick that up. But it would be unfair for me to have all this dialogue there that she would have to memorize.
I was disappointed it was so short. I wanted to see more of her after she teed you up for the alley-oop with sending the Bigfoot your way. You heard her shoot off in the distance, but you never got the closure until later in the film of what actually happened there.
Yeah, it was a fun scene to shoot too. The actor playing the Bigfoot out there, he's not the type of guy who would believe in like Bigfoot or supernatural stuff. And he's out there in this Bigfoot costume by himself in the woods. And he's like, dude, I don't believe in this stuff, but I'm out here like kind of disrespecting it. And I'm a little nervous that one might show up and like just snatch me, man. Yeah. So it was kind of funny. I was like, I probably just made you a believer.
You get close enough to this kind of stuff, it starts rubbing off on you.
Exactly. Yeah. So my passion for Bigfoot kind of started with The Legend of Boggy Creek. Have you ever watched that?
I haven't, but I've heard of it.
Oh, man. It's like an early mockumentary style film where it's retelling the stories, but it's like dramatized about this Bigfoot creature that basically harassed these people in this town. But prior to that, we grew up in a similar area here in Fauquier County. There is like tons of woods behind my house. And we moved here early 2000s. I was like 10, 11. And I remember I used to just go in the woods and explore by myself. One time while exploring in the woods, I came across this giant dirt mound. I go over to it and there's like a giant hole inside of it and it leads into the earth. So if you actually watch the movie, there is a scene in there where I'm showing that. My first thought, especially as like a 10-year-old, it must be like a bear or a coyote or
some
something
kind
like
of
that.
animal lives in here.
Yeah. So about like 100 yards away from that, there was this massive stick pile and it was bigger than me. So I decided to climb to the top of this stick pile and I'm climbing up and it concaves inward, right? Inside of it were like 3 or 4 deer carcasses. I'm thinking like, I should probably get out of here. That hole inside that den was like big enough where I would easily fit.
Yeah, this is something hunting something your size.
Yes. But my first thought was like, it's got to be a bear or a coyote or something like that. But then like, I see that movie, The Legend of Boggy Creek. And I'm like, dude, what if this is a freaking Bigfoot? Yeah. Especially with the construction of the nest. They weren't small trees. And it wasn't just one deer carcass. It was like 3 or 4, and they were just ripped to shreds. But anyways, that fueled my imagination. And then like ever since I saw like The Legend of Boggy Creek, I was like, man, if I ever make a movie, I want to make a Bigfoot movie. There's a Facebook group called the Bigfoot Film Appreciation Circle that I'm a part of. And I love it because I see stuff that I didn't even know existed.
Yeah, I know a lot of people that have their like pet cryptid. So if like I ever had a chance to write a screenplay, it would definitely be for Wendigo.
Oh, that'd be awesome, man.
Yeah. The movie you're referencing, was that made locally?
The Legend of Boggy Creek was not. It was made, I think, I can't remember the exact state it was in, but there's like a pet name for the creature and everything that was involved with it.
Have you ever heard of the wood booger? Is that almost similar?
That's like a southern name for Sasquatch.
Yeah.
Yeah, a wood booger. So there's multiple names for Bigfoot. Some organizations will call it the wood ape, and that's just trying to give it
make it like scientifically valid or
right, a more serious name. And then there's booger, wood booger, Sasquatch, Yeti. All those names are kind of like the same thing.
What do you think the relation of Bigfoot would be to like the skinwalker myth?
So there's a bunch of different theories about Bigfoot. In the Bigfoot community, you have those people that really want it to be a species of animal. Then there's people that believe it's the Nephilim. So the Nephilim is angels banging around with some humans, and they made these half-breed things.
Yeah,
and
the theory I heard was humans that had mated with demons, and they made like a larger version of humans with like, I guess, demigod powers.
Yes. And then there is a species of ape that existed during the Ice Age called Gigantopithecus. Yep. So there's some people believing that it's a descendant of that. So the interesting thing with the Gigantopithecus is that its proclaimed existence is based off of a jawbone and some teeth that were found. So we can say something existed off of a jawbone and some teeth. I feel like just one step missing to say like a Bigfoot exists. If Bigfoot is like a Nephilim, there's a theory that it can walk in and out of portals, which I think falls really close to the whole skinwalker thing, right? In the Bible, heaven and hell are supposed to be between earth.
Meaning like hell is below earth, heaven's above earth.
Well, no, it's like a small veil between the two. Heaven and hell are on earth,
like
right?
It exists simultaneously with our plane of existence.
Yes, and I feel like if Skinwalker is real and Bigfoot is real, maybe it's something that can walk in between these
layers of reality.
Of existence, right?
Yeah, so that's why you can't nail them down in any particular place.
Right.
I had a theory that if Bigfoot really is just a variant of Skinwalker, the Skinwalker legend I understand is that Native American tribes, they could shapeshift or warg into animals. And as you do that over and over again, you lose parts of yourself. So maybe that was just a human that took on so many animal traits that they were indistinguishable from an animal itself.
Yeah. And, nobody has the answers. That's totally a possibility.
And part of the fun of this is trying to find ways the puzzle pieces might fit that you haven't thought of.
Personally, I really want it to be a legit animal, like blood and bones. This thing is real.
Do you think it would be like an offshoot of humanity at some evolutionary point? Or do you think it's just something that's not related to us at all?
We know that Homo sapiens and Neanderthals mated, and like there's people that have Neanderthal DNA, and Bigfoot could be a Neanderthal or a remnant of Neanderthals.
Well, in the same way that like the megalodon is a prehistoric shark. Mm-hmm. Modern sharks are different. It's like a house cat is not a tiger, but tigers still exist.
Right. Who knows? Or it's Nephilim, or it's not real. I will say, though, I also shot a documentary called Elusive Legend with Daniel Benet, who's a Virginia Bigfoot researcher, and he runs the Virginia Bigfoot Conference every year. There's so many stories, people who have seen or think they've seen a Bigfoot creature.
Yeah.
For some people, it's not even like a question of whether or not it exists.
Well, you were telling me when you were touring for the movie, there were people coming up to you and showing you images on their phone. I was like, dude, here, I've seen one, look. And then you couldn't distinguish anything in the photo aside from like brush.
There was a couple, one of the spouses claimed up and down that they see this Bigfoot creature. They get visited by them. They're being talked to. And the other spouse was trying to say he doesn't believe in this thing, but I see them. I hear them. I get pictures of them all the time. So, one day it was just me and him, and I was just kind of trying to fill him out. I was like, well, what do you think? And he goes, I don't want to think about it. I've seen stuff that I don't want to be real. He was claiming he's seen like deer carcasses ripped to shreds inside of his yard. She was showing me pictures of fingerprints on like windows and stuff like that.
The fingerprints were like larger than regular handprints?
They were like just somebody took their one finger and pressed it on a window. I have a biology background, so I was trying to like tell her how to like, collect evidence here and create a chain of custody. But the pictures she kept sending me and the videos she kept sending me, I couldn't say like, yeah, I see something. And then she said they talked to her. Have you ever heard of mind speak before?
I had someone on the show that had an experience like that, where like you hear a voice in your head that's not your inner monologue.
There is a ton of people who claim that Bigfoot has the capability of mind speaking, like just basically telepathy. And the person that really kind of like propelled this forward was Les Stroud. He had a TV show called The Survivor Man. I think it lasted for 10 seasons. This guy would basically, he's a survivalist. He'll go out and like teach you how to survive out in the wilderness. Well, he had an experience one time in the Alaska wilderness. He was out there by himself, and he claims he heard the gorilla like screaming at him and running through the woods. So then he has another experience where this gorilla thing was telepathically communicating to him. You're not ready to see us, but one day you will be. This is a guy, I can't remember if it's the History Channel or the Animal Planet, had a TV show, and he's claiming like my producers are saying like, don't say stuff about this. You're going to lose your show. So he's got a lot to lose.
So is it losing credibility, or is it like someone's going to try to shut you up?
Losing credibility. Like stick with the Survivor Man stuff, not Bigfoot. That's not your realm. You know, that's not your territory.
Stick with your brand.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, he did a Survivor Man Bigfoot. After that, his show just went away. I know he does like small movie stuff now, but it's crazy for somebody like that. Because, I mean, he's been on like the Joe Rogan podcast. This is a mainstream guy. It's not like Joe Schmo or somebody.
And now he's just the boy that cried Bigfoot.
Which is crazy.
And that's where I like having a show where it's all just crazy stuff. The sane episode I have is the one where I'll lose people.
It'd be cool to see one from far away, but I don't want it talking to me, man.
You don't want to fracture your view of reality.
So there's a guy named Wes Germer. He runs a podcast called The Sasquatch Chronicles. This dude's got like 3,000 episodes, man. And like each episode, he has like 3 people on who share their stories. So it's like thousands of people sharing their experiences. So, you know, I met this guy and I'm talking to him. I was like, well, what do you think it is? And he's like, of all the people I've talked to and like the information I keep getting, he goes, I think it's an alien.
Really?
Yes.
Let's get into that.
So he was talking to somebody really involved with the government. And this guy was claiming like these things are aliens. This is an alien body.
Legitimate interdimensional travelers.
Yes. And when there's Bigfoot spottings, there's also a lot of UFO spottings. There's a famous story about the Chestnut Ridge. It was a farmer and he had his 2 kids with him, and they see this red UFO thing land. They pull up to it and these giant Bigfoot creatures walk out of it. This farmer takes a gun and shoots the thing because he's just terrified. And they claim that they hear the bullet hit it, but it sounds like it was hitting water, and it did nothing to the creature. It just kept walking. And they just got out of Dodge, basically. They got so scared. They didn't know what was going on. And it's one of those stories like, when you hear it's like so weird that it almost seems true, if that makes sense.
Yeah, if there were to be a detail about what the bullet sounded like, why water?
Yeah. And it's like 3 people who witnessed it at the same time. Like these 2 kids, they don't need to lie about their story, you know?
And you feel like as they were questioned about it later in life, they'd start getting details wrong.
Right.
Because they were just kids.
Exactly. So can you imagine the amount of people who've seen stuff but don't want to say anything because they just don't want to be made fun of?
Yeah, I mean, that's a big part of my show is that my guests are sane. You know, they're like, I don't really even want to talk about this stuff, but how do I rationalize seeing these things? And it's not like it's common for them to see certain stuff either. Like it might be like a schizophrenic episode. It's like, I've just had some experiences I can't explain. There's no real answer. Those are the fun little incongruities I like to explore.
We were talking earlier, and I think this is kind of a good segue into this. I had the opportunity to meet Bob Gimlin. And for anybody listening, Bob Gimlin was a part of the Patterson-Gimlin film, which is the famous 1967 film of the Bigfoot walking and it kind of turns its head back.
Yeah, everybody's seen that video at some point.
I mean, it's all over. But, talked to him for like a good hour, just me and him. And I didn't ask him about the Bigfoot stuff. I just wanted to ask, how he's doing in life and stuff like that. But he brought it up and he was talking about it. And he doesn't know me. He doesn't have to share this stuff with me. But he's just basically saying, for a long time, he wanted nothing to do with the film. He got ridiculed for it. He got harassed. His wife almost left him because of how bad things got.
Yeah, it's either Patterson's a hustler and he just wasn't aware of the con, or he genuinely believes it's real and wasn't part of whatever happened there.
And between the two guys, Patterson's past was shaky, but Gimlin's was not. This is like a stand-up guy, right? And even to this day, dude's just like an old school cowboy.
You said Patterson passed away in the 80s or the 90s?
I believe it was the late 70s or early 80s. You have your camera now, so if you screw up the shot, it's easy just to hit record on your phone camera, right? Back when you're shooting on film, you have a whole roll. So they shot a bunch of stuff on the tape that they have. And at the end of the tape is right when they call it Patty. So that means you had one take or one shot to capture. Patty's the nickname that Bigfoot kind of picked up there. So that you had one take to get the shot. If you screwed it up or the camera didn't work right, you would have missed it. That makes me believe that the tape is real or the footage is real, because when they were up in the Willow Creek area, they were up there because there was a sighting and Patterson wanted to make a Bigfoot documentary. The documentary was more about the looking for Bigfoot aspect. They weren't expecting to actually see a Bigfoot. And then another thing is the Bigfoot has breasts. If this was a hoax, they really thought it out. You wouldn't think Bigfoot is a female out there. Yeah. I think most people think of Bigfoot, they think of
big, strong ape man.
Yeah, exactly. So a bunch of people who've studied the movement of the breast and how it kind of bounces as the thing's walking and stuff like that. But also underneath the armpit, you can see where its hair is kind of gone and you see bare skin where this thing has been walking and where its arms have been rubbing back and forth on its body. And then the final thing is you can see some really incredible leg muscles move. So if it's a suit, that's not going to happen. The comparison that people always make is that the Patterson-Gimlin film was shot in 1967. Around the same time, Planet of the Apes came out.
So you'd think if it were just a costume, Planet of the Apes has the best version.
The makeup was Oscar winning for Planet of the Apes.
And this would have had to have been better than that.
Yes. The makeup artist for Planet of the Apes has gone on the record saying, I wish I made the Patterson-Gimlin ape costume.
Yeah, he would have loved to take credit for that.
Yes, exactly. Because there's actually a rumor going around that he was the one who made the costume.
Yeah, it's the Kubrick do the moon landing.
Right, right. I don't know, man, about that one. That's funny, but there's some stuff in The Shining where I always wonder, maybe he did, or maybe
he's trying to give us a message. Yeah. Have you seen that documentary Room
237?
237.
Yes, that's a freaking great documentary.
It's a lot of fun. I don't know if all their points are valid, but it's just fun to examine something from that many angles.
100%, man. But yes, like I was saying earlier, I just got the chance to sit down with Gimlin and talk to him for an hour. It was just two guys having a conversation. And, he was in his upper 70s before somebody was like, hey, you should go to these Bigfoot conferences and meet people that really believe in Bigfoot.
Yeah.
So now there's a financial thing. But prior to all that,
he was taking nothing but flack for it. And why would he continue to defend it past the death of the dude that propagated it?
Exactly.
Or it's just something that's stuck in his craw. It's I can't disprove this thing myself. And I was there.
Right, exactly. So it's either the thing's real or, they scammed Bob Gimlin somehow, which I would doubt because, they were deep in the wilderness and they had to leave right away because there was downpour happening and the roads weren't great and they were dealing with mudslides and they almost got stuck because they waited too long trying to track this thing down after seeing it. So they run out of tape and Patterson falls off the horse. So they have to recover the horse. They don't have any tape to film on, but they're trying to track this thing down. And then they have to deal with the rains coming in. So they have to get out of there before they get stuck.
Didn't you say that the frame rate was wrong? They had it down to 16
so when he pulled the camera out, he accidentally flicked the frame rate on it's a rented camera. It's funny too, because he had he rented the camera and he never returned it because of the excitement of what he caught on it. And there was a warrant sent out for his arrest because they said he stole the camera, which is kind of funny. But yeah, when he pulled it out, the horse rears up. He falls off the horse. They're seeing this thing and it's walking kind of slow, right? He's running up to his horse to pull the camera out and catch it on film. As all this is happening, he hits a button and it changes the frame rate of the film coming in. The standard frame rate is 24 frames per second. He changed it to like, I think it was 16 frames per second. That small detail though, is just like, why would you purposely do that, you know?
And just like, if you've ever had a pet that was doing something, you tried to film it with your phone, you fumble with it. Like you'll have it on picture when you're trying to be in video. In the heat of the moment, you can mess up a shot.
That's the thing too. When people have encounters, it's not like you have time to pull out your phone. It happened and it's gone.
Yeah. It's a small snippet, if anything at all.
And then you have to like dissect what you just saw.
And just having the ability to play it back, it's got to play with your mind so much. One of my favorite little rabbit holes being on TikTok now is whenever people have weird phenomena, like there is a lady and then the road is on the other side of her lawn, and then there's a field, a parking lot, and then a forest. And she says she hears screaming in that forest at a certain hour of day. And then she'll see a person pacing back and forth. And whenever she goes to see who it is, that person just kind of evaporates, is gone. I've seen another one where there's a dude that was filming, I guess it was the top of his mantelpiece where he had a bunch of little figurines, one of them being a small clown. And that small clown will kind of bend like it's peering out and looking. This is really creepy. This, of course, is a recorded video. Maybe they planned it out, but it almost tricks your mind into thinking like maybe these phenomena are actually happening there. And this is like maybe the 100th time it's happened and they finally caught it.
Yeah. And just to give the other side of the story, there has been a gentleman who claims he made the suit, and there has been a gentleman who claims he was in the suit. But some other people have talked about his body proportions and how it doesn't match up.
His gait, the way he walks.
Yeah, he's a very short guy, and like they're saying this thing is way too tall. The arms are way too long for him to be in the suit. And he tries to like, oh, I was wearing shoulder pads. Oh, they had hand extensions for me. And there was like a documentary made where they tried to replicate the footage, and it was nowhere like close. It's almost comical because now, like as we move forward, we can
try to reverse engineer things with better technology.
Yes, you can clean it up. You can stabilize it because it's very wobbly. Because this guy's like moving all over the place trying to catch this thing. Now, when you watch it, people have cleaned it up. It's just like the muscle movement on this thing. It's incredible. So if it's a fake, it's the most incredible fake footage I've ever seen.
A friend of mine, when I mentioned that we were going to do this episode, mentioned that they found out about a whole community of like Bigfoot fanfic writers, like erotic Bigfoot fan fiction.
Yes.
Did you encounter that in like research for the movie or just
so
your
there
general
is
interest?
A famous DNA doctor, Dr. Ketchum, I believe, is her name. I can't remember her.
No
first
relationship
name.
To Ash, I guess.
No relationship. You can't catch them all. But anyways, Dr. Ketchum has published a scholarly journal of what she claims is Bigfoot DNA. The significance of Dr. Ketchum is that she's been used in trials for cases involving animals and stuff, right? She would sequence DNA for animals. So it'd be like, oh, the dog was present when Bob killed Jill. Like, this is supposed to be a credible person is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So she comes up with this scholarly journal trying to say that they've sequenced the DNA that belongs to Sasquatch and doesn't pick up anywhere. So, like, what does she have to gain from that? And then you see she's written a couple books that are fanfare, erotica, Sasquatch stories. So she's definitely a Bigfoot fan. This is funny. Like, I've got message before from females asking, would I be interested in kidnapping them in the Bigfoot costume? I'm not even joking.
Wild,
yeah. So this isn't like coming out of nowhere. There has been Native American lore that Bigfoot will kidnap women and steal children. They claim that Bigfoot will make fake baby cries to draw people in, particularly women, and will steal them away. And in the native lore, they are using women to reproduce. There's actually a movie called Primal, and it's kind of about that factor.
So by that logic, is Bigfoot only one gender, or is it? Is Bigfoot a species? Are there multiple like Bigfoots?
So if you ask the Bigfoot experts, there's a claim that Virginia has Bigfoot creatures. They're like a lot smaller than you would expect, which I think would reflect in the area that they live in.
Yeah, like there's different traits based on area geography.
Yeah, and the skunk ape is just a small version of Bigfoot. That's like a New Orleans thing, the skunk ape. So I think as you go throughout the United States, you see a difference in variety. Like the ones in the West Coast are much bigger and slower.
Big, lumbering, like 6 foot.
Yes.
The stereotypical.
Yeah, where it
Bigfoot.
seems like over here on the East Coast, they're smaller and they're more ape-like.
Yeah, interesting. There's like variation in human beings.
I've heard there's like 4 different types and there's different looks. And then there's a thing called the dog man. It's like a Bigfoot with a dog face.
That sounds like Skinwalker territory.
Yeah, but the interactions with those things seem to be more scary than interactions with your typical Bigfoot looking thing. There's a research group called the Wood Ape Conservatory. They've collected pictures and it looks more like a giant upright walking gorilla. If you look at the Patterson film, it looks like a human with a huge nose, basically. According to David Paulides, who writes those missing 411 stories, don't go alone in the woods. Make sure you bring a buddy or a tracker with you.
Yeah.
And the chances of you disappearing are least likely.
Stay away from state parks.
Apparently. The stories he covered, they're so weird. You know, they find bodies stuffed in trees. Or they'll like search an area with search dogs and the body will show up like a couple of days later in the same area that they searched the day before. When he first started coming out with those books, he really stayed focused on the details and the facts. As the books progressed, he started like, let's explore reasons why these things could be happening. He tied it into Bigfoot stuff. He tied it into UFO stuff.
I've also heard it attributed to like if we are in some kind of simulation or if just our reality has the aspects of a game, there can technically be glitches. And these glitches exist in wide open, unpopulated areas.
Yeah. Or, there's like pitfalls into the earth that you walk into and you disappear that way. And it's funny because the land behind our house is like 500 plus acres, like probably even more than that. And I'm just out there exploring by myself as like a 10-year-old kid. Like, I was going like
anything could have happened to you at that point.
Yeah, and a lot of the missing 411 stories are kids that disappear. So that makes me nervous now as a father. Whenever I go anywhere in the woods, I'm always like trying to keep an eye on my kids. For predators, when you're being hunted, you're not going to see them. They're going to see you. And
it's also like very formative experiences. I have memories of just running around the woods when I was younger too. A lot of the people I've interviewed have those stories of being young and in the woods, and that's where a lot of their scary experiences took place. You don't want to deprive them of those moments, but you also don't want them to be the statistic either.
No. And maybe I've heard too many stories that creep me out when I go to these Bigfoot conferences and stuff. I'm Joe Schmo, nobody. This person feels compelled to tell me their story.
Because they either want someone that will listen or they're just, I guess, crazy. I don't know. But like I told you earlier, when I generally interview people for the show, I get a chance to sit down with them, look them in the eyes, and we talk for a while. So you usually get a good feel for their character. And I don't feel like anybody has lied to me, even if their experiences might not be what they perceived it to be. What is the feel you get from the people that approach you?
I don't have a defined definition of what a Bigfoot is or can be. So everyone's experience can be a valid experience, if that makes sense. Les Stroud, a public figure who has a TV show with multiple seasons, is coming out and saying, a Bigfoot talked to me telepathically, gives it some...
Yeah, a little bit of weight, a little bit of credence. So it sounds like almost everyone that comes up to you, it's valid to them. You can see it in their eyes that they're not lying to you. They're not just trying to get attention by telling you these things.
Yeah. I'll give you a great example. My first film is a mockumentary style horror film called Black Eyed Children Let Me In. These are a collection of stories. Can't remember the author's name for this book. But anyways, this is like before the internet was a commonplace for people to share their stories. And Black Eyed Children kind of fall into the creepypasta stuff. The most famous one was this journalist who was parked outside of a movie theater. He remembers the movie showing at the time was Mortal Kombat, the original one.
The very first Mortal Kombat.
And he's outside the theater and he says these 2 kids come up to him and they ask him for a ride. And his first thought was like, oh, okay, so there's something going on. These kids might need a ride. But then that fight or flight sense kind of kicks in and he feels like there's something not right here.
There's something wrong.
And he looks at these kids and their eyes are completely black or completely void. And they just like straight up disappear. He shares his story on an online forum, but it doesn't go anywhere. But then there's like a collection of people sharing similar stories. David Weatherly is the guy. He puts a book together and he collects all these stories of people having very similar experience. The most general experience that you have is you're home alone, you're by yourself, and you hear knocking at the door. They didn't ring the doorbell. You go to answer the door and there's a kid. Sometimes it's one, sometimes it's two, sometimes it's three. And they'll have like a weird request trying to get you to invite them into the house. They'll ask you for a glass of water or to use your phone. And your first thought is like, oh, it's just a kid. Maybe they need help. But then that sense kicks in like, no.
Fight or flight, like you're about to make a mistake.
Yeah, there's something wrong here. There's something not right here. And then you realize this kid's eyes are completely void or completely black. And usually what happens is the person shuts the door, they look out the window, and the kid's gone.
Calls back to vampires, let the right one in.
Yeah.
You have to consent to something for this thing to exercise its power.
Or even demons. For a demon to possess you, you have to give it permission. It's really scary stuff. The fact that people are saying they had experiences with this thing makes it kind of terrifying. But so it's like, oh, that's a great premise. But for the horror film, I was like, let's make a documentary explaining what the black eye kids are. And then you have a portion of it, like what happens if you let a black eye kid into your house. But anyways, when I go to these conferences, I have a poster of the film. So people come up, well, what's that about? And I usually just tell them the stories and it piques a lot of interest. But recently I just did the Monster Fest by Small Town Monsters out in Ohio. And apparently Ohio is popping for crap. I had like 6 people tell me they swear up and down they saw the black-eyed children. One guy shared a story that freaked me the freak out, man. He was on a walk with his dog and there's like a wooded area and he goes, I take my dog out there often and I hear the kid crying. I'm walking up on to see what's going on and I overhear this kid saying, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to do this. My dog was acting like it didn't even see the kid. As I'm getting closer, I'm starting to get these weird feelings. And then the kid turns around and he says the kid's eyes are completely black or completely void.
Ugh.
The dog not even acting like the kid's there. He's freaking out. He says he grabs his dog and he ran away. And he's like, I felt guilty a little bit because he's like, I wasn't even sure if it was a real kid, but he's like, something just told me to get the heck away.
It reminds me of the anglerfish. You see that little light hanging in the ocean. And if you get just close enough, you might be able to make out the fangs of what's actually dangling that light.
Oof. Yeah. See, I got chills just talking about that story.
Yeah.
In the David Weatherly book, there's another story where a lady stops at a gas station. She's pumping gas. And in the back seat of her car is her child, who's 2 at the time. She gets back in her car and she starts driving. She looks in her rearview mirror and she notices that there's another kid sitting next to her kid. And she realizes the kid's eyes are completely void and it freaks her the hell out.
Yeah.
So she pulls over, opens her door, she gets her kid out and she just runs away and she's crying and screaming, right? She calls her husband comes to pick her up and the kid's not in that car no more. They're trying to ask the 2-year-old, who was that? What was he doing in the car? And the 2-year-old said he wanted to come play with us. Her husband said, I'll drive the car home. You drive the second car that I brought and I'll follow you home. On the way home, he wrecks the car. Then, like, this kid who was very verbal, on the right track for a 2-year-old, all of a sudden becomes nonverbal and gets really sick. And they said it took years before this kid recovered and came out of whatever sickness that he had. And they had no real answers of what was going on with him.
Yeah. If these black-eyed children are really just like some kind of weird interdimensional demonic predator that only gets a few seconds of time in our reality to try and snatch you, that's terrifying. That's so terrifying.
David Weatherly ties it into the Men in Black, who are often seen with the same kind of traits with the eyes, where they have like completely void or completely black eyes, and maybe like UFO or alien human hybrids. These are your kids. These aliens stole your DNA and they're coming back to just visit you, you know? It's really creepy, man. When I was writing the script, there was one night that I was by myself back in college. And at the time I was staying with my grandparents and my grandparents were retired. So they'd travel a lot. So I'd get the house to myself. I was staying in the basement and, you know, I'm writing the script. I'm getting close to the end. I want to hurry up and knock it out so we can get filming. So I hear on one of the windowsills, slow and steady tapping, just like but it's very consistent. And I'm like, is this really happening? Or is this in my head? If I'm like being practical, the only thing I could say is maybe it was like a hard shell bug constantly hitting the window. So I put the laptop away at that point. I was like, I need to take a break. I got on YouTube, watch some funny stuff. Tapping goes away. I go back to writing the script. I'm starting to hear that tapping again. All right, that's it. I can't do this by myself at night, even if it's just in my head.
Because I've done that too. I've been writing scary stories, or I'll be in a mode where I'm down like a spooky YouTube rabbit hole. And I'll start getting that vibe that I'm like being watched, or I just feel unsafe for no logical reason. I have to divert.
And, it's a common theme with the black-eyed children. The more you look into them, the more likely you're going to have an experience. You look at the dark, it's going to look back,
And that is such a common trope with horror, too. The more you fuck around, you'll find out.
Yeah, it is true.
It kind of spreads like a virus if you're not careful.
Is that what we're doing here? We're just spreading some paranormal viruses?
I certainly hope not.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything attached to me. I'm pretty sure there isn't. Because I treat this stuff the way that I treat a murky lake. I don't know what's in there, but I'm going to respect it and not try to jump in and mess around.
And enough people have disappeared from that lake that it's real. It just takes one story to be real for the whole thing to be real.
It only needs to be real once, yeah. I think that's a good place to wrap things up.
Sure.
Justin, I really appreciate you coming on the show, brother. I know I've been bothering you for what was it, a month?
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I was preparing for the conference I mentioned a couple of times, Monster Fest, and it was a big show, so it was a lot of fun, get to meet a lot of people.
I can imagine. I'm not really too ingratiated with the horror community myself. I'm kind of just operating on my own.
I'm lucky enough where I can go into both worlds. I can do like a horror convention, or I can do Bigfoot conferences. And I really enjoy going to them because you get to meet all kinds of new people.
Did you hear that?
Yeah. What was that?
I'm going to wrap it up, folks, so we can go investigate. Until next time. Now those were some frightfully fun stories. Howdy, everybody. It's me, your host, Danny. And I wanted to let you in on something special. You might have noticed that when I introduce the show, I say we are the Hometown Horrors podcast. That's because there will always be at least 3 people in each episode. Me, the person who wants to hear a good story, the guest, the teller of a good story, and you, the listener, that takes that story and carries it with you out into the world. And we make up a special kind of trinity. We are the Hometown Horrors podcast. And if you ever want to graduate from listener to guest, reach out to us via our handle on Instagram, hometown_horrors_podcast. Our email is thehometownhorrorspodcast, no spaces, @gmail.com, or via text or phone call at 571-358-8880, which FYI is not my personal number, but give it a ring. I'll get back to you, because if there's anything I've learned from doing the podcast, is that everybody has a story, and that story deserves to be heard. On your number one source for the most spine-tingling, gut-wrenching, insomnia-inducing stories around, the Hometown Horrors Podcast.